we're in the midst of creating a design similar to the one you see on the left here, and we've been on site, taken some measurements, and the magenta lines on the right hand side represent information from the mud map that we created on site, and we're nearly ready to start building our design on the magenta series of lines. I've left a design, an example of the finished design on the left, just to help us with dimensions and so on. So on site, with one last thing to do from our mud map, we know that the entrance to the driveway is 4500 wide, so we use the offset command again, our favourite tool, modify offset, and we're asked to select the object to offset. That's this line here. We right click back on through point, and then back on distance again. That resets the value in here, and we can type 4500 and then indicate the size and exit from there. So let's zoom out a little and I'll pan across. So we've got all the base information now. The rest of what we're going to do here, I was going to say we've got all the base information. We maybe not have the path. Maybe it's not our responsibility to put the path down. Maybe the path is already there. Once we can get the path in through here, we'll then be able to start designing. So the on-site measurement, let's imagine, is 800 mil for the path. So let's repeat our offset command. The object to offset will be the little polyline that we've got there. Right click, again come back. If we click distance, we'll go 4500. So we go to through point, back to distance, and now we have the opportunity to type 800. So in that goes, indicate the offset now. So there's the path running through there and around. We could probably extend that edge of that path through to that boundary, but we'll do that at a later time. So we can exit from there. So I think we've got most of the information we can garner from the site. Now it's time to do our design work. We'll now begin our new design work, and we'll concentrate on laying out what will become a lawned area, rather narrow lawned area with a slightly wider area on the right hand side. And again, offset is the command that can be used to build this shape easily. So we have a dimension of 1800, so a suggestion for the width of the planting along the front boundary is 1800. So it's back again to offset. Sorry, that goes by right clicking and select repeat offset. We're going back into the offset command with the original value of 800, so we've got to go through that reset business. So it's actually much easier to start a new version of the offset command. We pick the object, right click, click to distance, and we're suggesting 1800 would be a reasonable width for that planting area through there. So the offset runs, so we've got this leading edge here. At this stage, don't worry about the bit hanging over the driveway. An offset for the side would be 650, so distance 650, and pick this line here and offset, so that gets the horizontal and now the vertical line. We can offset this one through here. If we look at it there, in the original design it was 1350. I'd like to shrink that a little bit to give us a little wider lawned area there, so I'll go for a metre. So here's my object to offset. I want a metre as my distance, so 1000 units, and I do that. That's going to give me a slightly wider entrance, I think, and we'll exit from there. It's probably time to clean up a little, so we'll modify and extend this line here through to that boundary, and that doesn't work because we have a polyline, so we need to break it up, explode it, so now we have a single line here, and we have a boundary that we can extend to. So we pick it, and now we can extend that line through. We could now use the trim command. So modify and trim. This becomes the cutting edge. Let me zoom in a little. That's the cutting edge, and the bit to trim off is that one there. So again, this is a polyline, so let's, while we're at it, explode it and repeat the trim command with that. Repeat the extend command. This is the boundary, and we can extend that path through there. So we've got pretty much our shape, although we need to work on this area through here. You might like to try the fillet command. Modify fillet, and if we pick these two lines, you have to be a little careful about where you pick past the midpoint of the line, that's fine there, and then past the midpoint of this line, and we get a squared off trim in one action. You could do the same here and trim, and there we have our shape nicely defined. It does have, it's going to be edged in brick with a 110 or 100 mil offset. So again, we can go repeat the offset command, pick the object to offset. Now this would be tedious if we worked around there picking all of the lines. Far better to gather all those lines up, join them together now as a polyline, and then offset that polyline by the point, by a defined distance of 110, and we'll offset it. So there we've created now our shape relatively well. We do need that point there, so that trim, let's exit from there. We have to go back and extend. We're going to extend this line to that boundary, so there's the boundary, and extend through to there. We do need that 4500 offset because we're going to throw an arc through here and then bend around. So you can see the offset command in combination with trim and extend works really well. We now have a garden bed area running through there, and our path. Our final step is just to put the arcs in to define the boundary of the driveway. Our final task in this, and laying out all the hardscape elements in this design, is to put this curving edge to the boundary. And you can see that the designer there used a series of arcs, 3 of them in fact, to create that particular shape. So let's see if we can manage to do that. I'll try and leave both showing at the same time. So we start our arc command, draw an arc. We'll pick a 3-point arc, and we use entity snap to pick up that endpoint, that offset there. The middle point of the first arc will be somewhere around there, and we want to end at the end of that line there. So that puts an arc in for the driveway, and we need another small arc just coming through here. So we could pick the draw and arc and continue option. That picks up the end of the previous arc, and so all I need to do now is to get a reasonably nice end to the final arc. And for that I'm going to use the nearest option on OSnap. So can you see now, it's because nearest is on, it's going to anchor itself on that line, and so I can come along through here and get the sort of shape I want. I'd be inclined to click at about the point where the arc is tangential to the line. We can go endpoint, and I'm doing this by eye, and I think that will satisfy me. So now it's just a matter of cleaning up our drawing. If you look, we have all things in place. So this line can now be removed, and the trim can now be applied to that as the cutting edge. The arc can be used to cut that off, and apart from a small thing, and I haven't had the benefit of being on site, I'm not sure whether it's a very narrow garden bed area, or in fact might be an extension of a wall. So you just have to bear with me on that. We have one last problem to deal with, and that's the path extends past the edge of the arc there, and we need to blend those two together. We can't use the trim command because even though we use the O-snap near and lock the end of that arc to the line, it doesn't overhang, so the trim won't work. And I'd like to show you quite a neat shortcut. Pick the line and move your cursor so that it locks onto the handle at the end of that line, and then use the O-snap or E-snap endpoint, snap to endpoint, and marry the end of the line to the end of the arc. So now they have congruent endpoints. So we've now got the blend that we want. So I hope you can see that we now have our hardscape. The geometry is there, and it's now time to load our plant database file and start laying out the planting in the area.